Don, thanks. 3 years to the day that 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack-Belton was shot and killed. Jurors in the Rick Chow murder trial are now seeing exactly what happened inside that convenience store.
They are indeed. Prosecutors say that Chow, the former Columbia store owner, chased Carmack-Belton from his Park Lane Road store back in May of 2023 and then shot him in the back over bottled water. The defense asserts that the teen pointed a gun at Chow's son Andy and that Chow responded by firing the fatal shot. Our Nick Neville has been following this case from the very beginning and joins us live after spending the entire day in the courtroom listening to testimony. Nick, tell us more about what the jurors saw on that surveillance footage.
Judy, through multiple angles, jurors saw 4 bottles of water that Carmack-Belton picked up, and he put each one back in the water cooler. He's then confronted by Andy Chow and Alice Chow, Rick's wife, before that chase ensues. The state says this tells the whole story, and the Chows escalated this situation. Cyrus Carmack-Belton was 14 years old when he walked into a Columbia convenience store owned by Rick Chow for the last time. Jurors seeing that moment on camera in court as Chow is on trial for the teen's murder. During an exchange in the store, Carmack-Belton's hands stay in his hoodie pockets as the Chows watch. Earlier, the state called several witnesses to the ensuing foot chase, including Devontae Bryan, who testified he didn't see anything in Carmack-Belton's hands at the time of the shooting.
Then he gets up, and as he's, like I say, he getting up, but he moving so fast, he's stumbling. Yeah. So after the last stumble, it's like he's trying to get complete, stand upright. So he maybe took a step or two after that, then that's when the shot went off.
A key element of Chow's defense is that Carmack-Belton pointed a gun at Andy Chow. On cross-examination of Bryant, Chow's lawyer is trying to poke holes in his testimony, honing in on inconsistent statements to law enforcement.
Today, you're saying that's different, correct?
Yeah.
You have met with law enforcement, solicitors, everybody in between those 2 times, yes?
Yeah.
And we realize the first thing that you said about shot on the ground is not possible.
No.
Prosecutors asking one of the RCSD investigators on the case, Tyma Jordan, whether all of this could have been avoided had the Chows simply called law enforcement when they suspected shoplifting.
What if a suspect, you had multiple camera angles of their face, high definition videos of their face, you had the shoe. What if they left behind 2 cell phones? Would that help you in identifying that person if they did commit a crime? Would that be helpful to you?
Yes, it would.
The state does not dispute that Carmack-Belton had a 9mm pistol on him on the night of that shooting, but says that he had no intentions of using it. The defense also introduced their first piece of evidence this afternoon, a social media photo of the teenager where he's wearing the same clothes and holding that same gun. This was over objections from prosecutors. Testimony will continue tomorrow morning. For now, reporting in Columbia, Nick Neville, WIS News 10.
We should also mention, thank you, Nick, a pathologist testified this afternoon about the trajectory of the bullet that hit the teenager in his back.
WIS continues to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of the trial, both on air and online. We're also streaming the testimony on our digital platforms.
Cyrus Carmack-Belton was only 14 years old. A child, we remember him. A son, deeply missed. A young black boy with a future still unfolding. But on May 28, 2023, in Columbia, South Carolina, his life came to a tragic end after an encounter outside of a convenience store that would spark national conversations, community outrage, and painful questions that still remain today. 3 years later, to the day of Cyrus's death, jurors in the murder trial of former gas station owner Rick Chow watched surveillance footage showing what happened inside the Chow's convenience store on Park Lane Road. What they saw would become central to 2 very different narratives. According to prosecutors, Rick Chow chased 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack-Belton from the store and shot him in the back over bottled water. The defense argued something very different. They claimed Cyrus pointed a gun at Rick Chow's son, Andy Chow, and that Rick Chow fired his weapon believing his son was in danger. But the surveillance footage shown to jurors revealed important details that deserve thoughtful discussion. From multiple camera angles, jurors reportedly watched Cyrus pick up 4 bottles of water and place each one back. During the interaction inside the store, Cyrus allegedly kept his hands inside the pockets of his hoodie while being closely watched by the Chows. At one point, when questioned, Cyrus reportedly responded, "I don't got no water in my pocket, bro." The state argues this footage tells the real story, that the confrontation escalated unnecessarily, that Cyrus was confronted, pursued, and that deadly force followed an incident that may have never needed to reach that point. Jurors also heard testimony from witness Devontae Bryant, who stated he did not see anything in Cyrus' hands at the time of the shooting. Bryant described seeing the teenager stumbling as he moved quickly. He testified that after stumbling several times and trying to stand upright, that is when the fatal shot was fired. However, defense attorneys challenged Bryant's testimony, pointing to inconsistencies in prior statements and questioning whether his account had changed over time. The defense maintains that Cyrus possessed a 9mm firearm with a laser and pointed it at Andy Chow. The state does not dispute that Cyrus had a firearm on him that evening, but prosecutors argue there was no evidence he intended to use it. They contend that surveillance footage, witness testimony, and the circumstances surrounding the confrontation raised serious concerns about how quickly the situation escalated. Investigators also testified that the store had extensive surveillance systems, multiple camera angles, and evidence that could have potentially helped law enforcement identify someone if a theft had occurred. One investigator was asked a difficult but important question. Could this tragedy have been avoided if law enforcement had simply been called? Would surveillance footage, high-definition cameras, and evidence left behind have been enough to resolve the situation without violence? Those are questions many people continue to ask, because at the center of all of this is not simply a court case. It is a 14-year-old child who never made it home, a family forever changed, deeply wounded, a community still grieving, standing together, a young life now remembered through courtroom testimony, surveillance footage, and the painful search for understanding. Regardless of legal arguments, one truth remains. Cyrus Carmack-Belton lost his life at 14 years old. And many people believe difficult conversations must continue. About escalation, about conflict, about fear, about accountability, about how encounters involving children can turn deadly in a matter of seconds. This story is not about telling people what to think. It is about encouraging people to look at the facts, hear the testimony, ask questions, and think deeply. Because every child matters, every life counts. Every life matters, we must remember. And every family deserves answers they can live with. Today, we say his name, Cyrus Carmack-Belton. We say his name. Gone too soon, but never forgotten. Truth gang, when will the cycle end? Stop killing our children.
The jury unanimously find the defendant, Rick Chow, as to the charge of murder, not guilty.
The verdict ended a day that began with emotional closing arguments. Prosecutors argued Cyrus Carmack-Belton was a frightened child running for his life.
He died scared, Rick Chow's face being the last one he saw. He died surrounded by strangers.
The defense told jurors the state was ignoring what attorney Sean Kent called the rest of the story. He argued this case was not about a stolen bottle of water, but about a father trying to protect his son.
They made you think the great Rick Chow, this evil human being over here, killed a man over $1. And that is disgusting, that is awful, that is abhorrent, but that's not what happened.
After the verdict, family attorney Todd Rutherford said the family was devastated.
There is no way that a child who did nothing wrong, who is shot in his back, how that jury can justify that verdict. I've been practicing law for almost 30 years. I've never seen anything like this.
Meanwhile, defense attorney Jack Swerling said the jury reached the correct decision.
I mean, nobody wants to take anybody's life. But you're going to protect your children. You're going to protect yourself. You're going to protect your wife.